Guys, it's Dell with Omega Sports, and I am thrilled to have a show that is going to be packed with a ton of meaningful information about a great community cause and a great community organization today. We're going to be talking about Together We Stand NC, which is a fantastic organization that's set up in the Durham market, but really throughout North Carolina. And there's a special event coming up later this month that's going to involve a lot of great community partners and some familiar faces that you guys have been used to in our Omega world here. I have the privilege of knowing this gentleman, and I can't wait to bring him on, Mr. Tyrone Irby. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Tyrone, how are you today, sir?
Doing pretty good, Dale. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Now, I want to start with Tyrone. You are streaming today from your place of business. You are a local community business leader. Tell me a little bit about where you are today and tell everyone, your background.
Okay, so I am at our new gym. We opened up Stronger and Faster, which is a strength training program for runners, 2015. We just moved to our new facility December the 7th of last year. So that's where I am right now. I've been working with runners probably for the last 10 years. I worked at Central as a strength coach for about 4 years. Then Gold's Gym, I opened my own place in 2015. So the goal is always, with our runners to prevent injury and to make them stronger and faster.
Well, at Omega Sports, we love that. I will say I've had the opportunity to do some meetings with you, and I think I've run into people who train with you, and you're no joke.
Well, we make sure people get their money's worth. But also, we train different types of athletes, from a semi-professional athlete, a young teenager, Ironman, and also retired athletes that are just recreational. They just want to run to be running, but not to set, PRs or anything, but just keep running because it helps their life.
Yeah, we know in our coverage of working with runners, we know that strength training and endurance is a big factor in, getting stronger, but not just physically, but also mentally as well. What got you into running and training?
Well, I think, when I left Central in 2011, as a matter of fact, I wanted to continue my training, but I realized I didn't have the knowledge base to be in the collegiate atmosphere yet. So I wanted to try something a little bit different. And I've always run, playing basketball, running just to be running, but I met quite a few runners over the years that felt they needed something different than what they were doing. So when I opened up my gym in 2015, it was more about runners from 16 years old to 75 years old is kind of our client base. And everyone can't do everything, but they can do something. So the goal is just to target what they need to do. For the most part, runners need more posterior chain strength, upper back, lower back, glutes, and hamstrings. If they can get that, typically they're injury-free for the most part. So the goal is just to find different ways to train people.
Yeah, well, we love that. And you are in the Durham market, but obviously you have people throughout the triangle that's coming to your place of business as well.
Correct. We also do a virtual Stronger and Faster program. We run that from April through September. That's for runners that cannot come here live to train, but also they want the same type of exercises and programs to help their running throughout the entire running season.
Yeah, well, I've met some people who train with you and they speak very highly of what you do. So definitely, if people are interested in following you, they can go to strongerandfasterdurham.com. That's your site there that can learn more about the training side of what your heart and your brain are focused on. But more importantly, Tyrone, I know we're talking today about a great organization that you were able to set up. Kind of rooted into our running community. And then there's a big event that's coming on. But before I even get into Together We Stand NC, which is your organization, I just want to start with saying the last couple of years have obviously been pretty trying for a lot of folks, but certainly within your own community. I just want to say, how are things? How are you doing? How are you living through these pretty tough times, and with all the social media and all the news that's out there? How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's always a challenge because you read so much on the news, you hear so much on radio and social media, some of which is not accurate. So you have to filter out some of the crap and focus on what you can control. And that's my focus right now, is what I can control.
Yeah. I think what people will say about you is you always stay positive, but you're also very much to the point of what can we control? Let's have honest conversations. Let's get to the heart of it, because at the heart of it all, we're all humans. And of course, what we're talking about is some of the injustices that have been spilling all over social media over the last couple of years. That certainly did not just start happening in 2020. That's certainly something that has been going on in our country for a while. And as an individual, you've been dealing with that your whole life. And now you have a position as a community leader, a business leader in our community, to be able to affect change. And so walk me through what you've been through personally, and kind of watching the moments that have happened over the last couple of years that have really united and ignited a lot of activism. What was it about what was going on that you said, you know what, I need to put something together. I need to connect my heart and my brain together with the things that you're able to do, whether it be at your business or just bringing a coalition of like-minded people?
Well, I think one of the things we always wanted to do when we opened up 2015 was to be a community resource. We always do an annual fundraiser called the Bull City Squat Challenge every year that we've been open. 2020, the way it began was very challenging. The Tyrone Irby case really resonated with me, because I can recall a time in my life growing up in New York when I was 14 years old, being chased by a couple of white guys in a moped and baseball bats. Yeah. So when I read that story, it just triggered a memory in my mind, but also after Aubrey, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, there was a series of injustices to people of color in 2020. The other issue was everyone was angry. Whether you're black, whether you're white, or any race, everyone was angry and yelling at each other. There was no conversation going on. And one of the things I try to do in my own business is promote conversation, not just yelling at each other, but conversation where people are talking and people are listening. And what I found 2020, everyone was talking at each other angrily. There was no conversation, there was no listening, there was no understanding. My goal, when I founded Together We Stand, was to find a way for everyone to come together and listen to each other. Yeah. And you know, the goal is always, when you listen, you learn. If you don't listen, you can't learn. We want to build awareness about people of color, and also just find a way to have everyone speak to each other in terms that's engaging, authentic, and honest.
Yeah. Well, I want to read some information that I got off of your website, your social media, and I think this really is a perfect message. I'm going to go ahead and read this verbatim here. Movement supporting peaceful demonstration and honest, unfiltered conversation to bring awareness of systemic racism and injustice of people of color. You know, I've been able to participate, not with my Omega hat, not with, a brand, but as a person. I know I've done your Courageous Conversation series where you just invite people into, I think it was a next door coffee shop or a juice bar, where we had conversations and we talked. I remember the one that I went to, it was the case was going on, and there were verdicts that, we weren't sure which way it was going to go. And it was such an important conversation to have, but it was more important because we were just having it versus having it in our own families, in our own work environments, in our own community. We were having it across several different, it was a blended group of folks from all different aspects of life, not just racial, but economic, influence, whatever you want to say. It was a good opportunity for people to kind of get different points of view without feeling like it was an unsafe environment. Do you want to talk a little bit about Courageous Conversations?
Well, Courageous Conversations started because we wanted to have small group discussions. Here's the issue. Talking about race for any race is difficult. Mm-hmm. We all are affected by race in some aspect of our lives. But what happens is, if you don't talk about race, you don't learn about race. And the goal for Courageous Conversations was to bring people together, as you said, different races, economic statuses, and find a way to just have a conversation. honestly, an honest conversation. And I think for the one that you came to me, it was excellent because we had people. It was an emotional conversation because we talked about the Tyrone Irby case and about what if there was no video. You know, and I think everyone that was there agreed that no one expected those killers to get life. No one expected that, but it happened, which was a blessing. But at the same time, it's important to have diversity in conversation because there's so many different ideas. You know, as a black man, 57 years old, living in Durham, my experience is different than somebody else living in New York or in Wisconsin or in Green Bay. My experience is different than someone that's not my color or not my race and not my gender. So the conversation focuses on your experiences and what you experience every day. And I think that's really the reason, the goal of Courageous Conversations, to make sure that everyone has a voice. I want to know what Dell feels every day when he goes up and goes to work. You know, hope Dell wants to know what I feel every day when I go to work. And the goal is always to have those conversations and to learn from each other.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I think was very powerful was, first of all, the facilitation of the conversation was great. Thanks to you. Thanks to your wife, who also co-facilitated. I do want to give a shout out to our own Omega Sports ambassador, Mimi, who was really my kind of welcoming into the conversation. She was saying, you know, Del, you have to be a part of this. You have to be a part of this. So through the comfort of my friendship and my, you know, ambassadorship program with Mimi, I was able to come in and I didn't know what I was going to expect, right? I had no clue. I actually asked I tried to over plan, right? Do I need to have talking notes? Do I need to have this? Do I need to have this? And she just said, no, just come. I think I even called ahead saying, hey, I'm still in a sweatshirt. Like, should I dress up for this? Like I tried to over engineer the planning. But what I realized was once you and your lovely wife were able to start kind of setting the tone and facilitation, and you had some great partnerships in kind of leading the conversation, all you have to do is listen. And you understand, if you give people the space to say what's on their mind and what's in their hearts, you listen, and you may even walk away with, you know, I thought I knew this, but now I really know it. Like, I remember women talking about raising their Black son and having to have the conversation. I heard women say that they every day were praying, scared, until their son walked back in the room or walked back in the home. And that also goes for their daughters. And, you know, so it was a really powerful opportunity. And I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about some of the very emotional talking points in that conversation, of not knowing how, like, I didn't understand. I knew top of mind. I've heard, yes, we have to have conversations. We need to know how to treat the police. We need to know how to, be safe. But I think one of the most powerful statements was, I think, and I don't want to say it wrong, so forgive me if I say it wrong. I think I heard one of the contributors at the meeting saying, I just need you to stay alive. Right. And
yep, that's correct. That's what you said.
That struck me so powerful, because it's not just a mom praying, like, that people will be fair, people will be truthful and follow the law, but just to say, I just need you to stay alive. No matter what happens, just stay alive. And then mama will take over and help. Like, I remember that was kind of a little extra nuance that she put onto it, but that was very powerful. And I think when I think of Together We Stand and See, I think of that. It is that authentic, truthful, open conversation that's safe, that I think you're doing really good, meaningful work. And I'm appreciative of my time that I've been able to spend with it, and, hopefully additional opportunities to help support it as well. Can you talk about, like, where that's going to continue? Because I know it was one conversation and then there's another series, and how does someone get involved with that?
So here's the thing about Courageous Conversations. It's for everybody. This is not a Black thing or a white thing or Hispanic thing. It's for everybody that wants to come and have a discussion. I ask people that come to have an open mind, because there might be some things said that might be emotional. So have an open mind and come to engage and participate. Durham, we're going to have, the next one will be in March, every other month. Now, here's what's interesting. We're working with Notre Brewing Company in Charlotte to have one February the 20th, which will be that week of the MOD 2.23. What he wants to do is start having his every other month also. So the goal is going to be now to have one in Durham and then one in Charlotte every month of the year.
Love that.
So we're excited about that, because that, again, for us, the goal is to have Together We Stand, not just in Durham, but also every city that wants to have Together We Stand in North Carolina. Because I think North Carolina needs something like this to have those conversations, because it's hard to have conversations with people about race and diversity and inclusion. It's hard. But we've been blessed to find businesses like Omega Sports that embrace the challenge of coming together and having those discussions.
Yeah, I'll be open and share with anyone watching out there that, you know, the first time you and I met, Tyrone, I was willingly admitting I support it. I know that Omega Sports needs to do more as an organization. And I just remember you just removed all barriers. You were just like, then just do it. Like, you literally just said, you know, I've heard you talk and I've heard you say this and say that, just do it. And I remember thinking, okay, well, if you're willing to make any room for us, we'll be able to support, and we'll do whatever we need to support. And that felt good, right? Because we don't have to necessarily, like I did, thinking I had to go to the meeting prepared with notes, prepared with what I need to wear, what am I going to be saying, what's going to be asked of me, and what do I need to say, to just show up and just be a part of what is the right thing to do. And I think that's where you kind of equalize that for us, of just saying, you know what, I don't care what you haven't done. I don't care if you've done this or done that, just do. And that's why we are now able to work with a big community of partnerships that you've been able to cultivate, because it's just the right thing to do.
You know, well, here's the thing about it. It doesn't make a difference how big you are or how small you are, as long as you're willing to engage and to try. You know, this is just like running. You know, whether you run 5Ks, 10Ks, or marathons, this will always be a marathon. Our goal is every month to have somebody change their mind. And if you can have conversations every month, whether it's family, co-workers, people that your neighbors, and have those discussions, that's a win for us.
Yeah.
Again, it's a long-term thing. It's a marathon. So we want change to happen slowly every day, but it's a long time for this to really work.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure we put up on the screen your actual Instagram page, which is Together We Stand NC. So I definitely want to make sure that people out there are encouraged to follow. They'll see obviously a lot of momentum happening in the weeks ahead, actually the days ahead, because you have a big event that's happening. This is the second time that you've done the mod race. Talk to me about the idea around what the race originally was last year and how it's evolved and enhanced into 2022.
Well, again, we founded in June 2020. So we had our first mod event February 2021. We had a Durham partner that did a fantastic job for us. And we had, now keep in mind, this is virtual also. So we had the event, we raised almost $5,000 for the Durham People's Alliance. But the concept was just remember this kid on the 23rd of February and run 2.23 miles. Again, the run is important, but also to remind us what happened. You know, February is Black History Month. This now, unfortunately, is a part of history.
Right.
This year, I realized that one day wasn't enough. We wanted to do 7 days. So we sought partners to have a mod run every day of the week from February 19th until February 26th. We have partners in 8 cities that are doing a run all 7 of those days. And again, the goal is, again, to have those conversations. You'll be amazed at how many people have no idea what happened to Ahmaud Arbery.
Right.
Because I think what happened was there were so many killings in 2020, all those names just kind of come together, run together.
Yeah.
So we want people to learn about what happened to this kid. He wasn't being arrested. He wasn't doing anything wrong but running. And 3 men hunted him down and killed him. We want people to really learn about this case, but also understand this happens in some cities on a regular basis.
Right.
And it should. So it's all about building awareness. Again, this now is part of Black history, unfortunately. We want to build awareness about this case and other cases. Now remember, Trayvon Martin also was killed on the 26th of February. I believe that was back in 2012. Mm-hmm. So you have those 2 days within 4 days of 2 young black men being killed for no reason but because they were black.
Yeah. And I think it's important that when we look at what you're able to build, there's a whole team of people that are volunteering to make this happen. There's, important, influential folks that are involved, but there's just everyday folks that just understand that there's the need to remember, and then there's a need to improve. And the improvement comes with everyone just, grab your friends, grab your neighbors, come out and learn something new, because it's a short run. I'm not saying everyone can run 2.23 miles, but it's a reasonable run that if you think you have to train hard for it, you really don't. You need to come just to be a part of the community, because what it is about improving by learning what has happened. And as you said, it's a part of history that we unfortunately cannot ignore. We would love to erase it, but we cannot ignore it. And I know that because that's such a powerful mission to improve, you've been able to work with some fantastic partners. And I want to give a shout out to all of them, because I understand that it's important to you and it's important to the folks over at Together We Stand and See. But you've been able to really engage a lot of other like-minded businesses and brands to make things happen. Do you want to talk about some of your partners?
Yeah, one of the things we want to do also with this, the way to expand this movement and also expand the modern event, was to have partners of like minds. We're partnering now with Fleet Feet, Mega Sports, several breweries, Point Source in Durham, Raleigh Brewing Company in Raleigh. Charlotte has Divine Barrel, Wooden Robot, and Noda Brewing Company. Run CLT, which is a support group for runs in Charlotte. CP Compression, compression socks. So our goal really was to have different partners that can help us affect change. Yeah. And most of the partners are either beer or runners. One of the things that I found is running welcomes everybody. As long as you got a pair of shoes, you can run. Doesn't cost a lot, but also you see a lot of runners of all races running together and running separately sometimes. Breweries, I think, are also a safe space for conversations. I sold beer for a long time for a couple of breweries, and I always found that breweries, you can meet anybody in a brewery and have a conversation, because they're a safe space, because everyone in a way is equal when you go into a brewery. You got $5 for a beer, you can buy a beer, everything is good. So in a way, we try to combine the brewery aspect of it, local breweries only, and also the running aspect of it, to find a way to bring people together for the run and for the conversation from Mount Auburn.
Yeah. And I want to say a big shout out to a big, supportive brand. Whenever we've ever asked for any help, they've been more than willing to help. And I know you've been able to work with them directly, Hoka One One, which will be the official shoe for this particular event. And again, we say event, but I do think it's important that we remind people. We'll go ahead and put up on the screen more details about how to get information about how to sign up, how to register. That's mod223.omegasports.com. We put together a nice little page that explains the race, talks about the partners, and then there's a schedule of events that are happening. So it's multi-day, so it's not just one day. And that it can be virtual if you want to sign up virtually. But there are some great opportunities to really kind of gather with your community, be a part of your community at some great local breweries. I know Fleet Feet, Mega Sports, we're going to host some races in some of our stores. Certainly go to mod223.omegasports.com to get all those details. And we're going to continue to keep adding more and more details as they continue to develop, because I feel like every week, Tyrone, you're getting this add-on and this group wants to add on and this person wants to help out. I mean, it's been fantastic to watch.
Well, I tell you, one of the things you just mentioned was the virtual aspect of it. The runs will only be in North Carolina live. Now, that doesn't mean you can participate anywhere you want to go to. So far, we've had about 200 people sign up virtually. So that means I'm sending T-shirts out to Wyoming, Illinois, New York City, Boston, Massachusetts. So we want this really to be nationwide, and if you live in Connecticut, and you want to run anytime that week for a Ahmaud Arbery, do it. Put on a shirt and do it. The shirt has a great logo, which has Ahmaud 2.23. All our shirts, including this shirt, it's all about conversation. If you see my shirt, you see Together We Stand with a bull meaning for Durham. The Ahmaud shirt has a quote on the back from John Lewis. We want people to be wearing these shirts and having conversations about the shirts themselves also. That's one of the goals for the shirts, because shirts are a conversation piece for us. That's what we want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, that's important. So if you're close to any of these locations, when you look at the schedule, certainly we invite you to come out. There is not a prerequisite. There's no like, you need to make sure that you hit this PR, or you need to make sure that nobody cares. Like, we really just want to be able to be there. And I also think that it's not going to be anything other than remembering and improving, and then going for that run. And then I would assume, and this is me saying this, Tyrone, so please feel free to say that's not really the point, but I think it's important that if I'm running with my friends, that we made it through and we were safe. Like, that should be the conclusion, right? And that should be what we want for every single runner out there. Obviously, at Omega Sports, we care about all runners, and we want them to run. We talk about safety, like, you make sure that you have reflective wear, make sure you have safety precautions, make sure that you've got the right fit in your shoes. But, because we're so technical, we don't think about just human safety. Like, you have to be able to feel safe when you're out there moving more and playing more. And so I think for me, my conclusion would be, I think I actually said this, or Mimi maybe brought this up in one of our conversations, of course, our Mega Sports ambassador, Mimi Melvin. Well, if you just run and you understand that you made it from point A to point B and you were safe, that's what we want to achieve for everybody.
Right. Well, I think it's that also, but I think it's also the feeling of being safe at all times.
Yeah.
And not looking over your shoulder every mile, half mile.
Right.
And I think, for people of color that are runners, there are certain things you need to be aware of. Wear bright clothing. Do not run up upon somebody. Make sure people know that you are running and have space between you and everybody else. There's just so many things to be aware of every day. And I think, for us, one of the goals for the Ahmaud 2.23 is not just coming back safe. That's a gift. But also, when you come back, meet somebody new.
Yeah.
That's not your race, and have a conversation. Say hello. How you doing? Let's have a beer together. Something like that. You want people to engage before and after the run. Have a conversation.
Yeah, I know our producer, who's not on screen, she's got a race happening with her soccer supporter group for NC Courage. They're going to be joining in on the participation of Ahmaud 223 as well. So, again, you're doing it with your friends. You get an opportunity to celebrate Black History Month in a very unique and meaningful way, but you also get to engage and just have new conversations. I think is what's really important, because it's not like any other run. It really should be about that engagement and that community connectiveness that we're looking for. I want to just again give a shout out to Mimi Melvin, our ambassador, who's going to be hosting some of our races at Omega Sports. I'm just going to give you a chance, Tyrone. Tell me, how much do you love Mimi?
Love Mimi. She does a great job for us. She's our first and only ambassador of Together We Stand.
Yeah.
So, one of the things about Mimi you have to realize also is she has 3 sons.
Yeah.
So when you think about how she would respond to something like this, it's very emotional. And I think, you were there when we had the conversations over at Nissa's spot in Durham, and we talked about Ahmaud Arbery, and you can hear her voice, the emotion in her voice, thinking about being a mother and your son not coming home to you.
Yeah.
Because that's what his mother feels every day.
Yeah.
So, for us, it's great having someone like Mimi on our side, and part of what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And of course, all of our Omega Sports ambassadors have been participating. I know Lauren and Ken in Wilmington have been big supporters. They're going to be leading our Wilmington race. I know right before we got on air, we started talking about Alicia in Winston-Salem. So, and I've seen Deanna resharing and pushing stuff out there. So a big shout out to all the Mega Sports ambassadors who aren't told by me what to support. Like, we don't run things that way. We like to run, but we don't run things.
Right.
We tend to, have great partnerships, and then they start to see what's happening in the community, and we learn from them just as much as hopefully we're helping them. But in this case, I would say Mimi has really helped us kind of lead with our heart versus overthinking it. And I think that's a big shout out to her and the work that you're doing. So I'm very proud of the opportunity to work with you, Tyrone, and to be able to be out there, have some fun. You're going to see me running. Don't make fun of me.
No problem.
They're probably engaging more than the running. And then I certainly would love to end at a brewery and have some good conversations.
We can do that. We can do that. Hopefully you'll be in Charlotte with us for the kickoff in Noto Brewing Company also, because we will be having a beer after the run on that day.
Okay.
But Dale, number one, thank you for being a part of what we're trying to do. And remember, I hadn't met you before until Mimi introduced us. So I appreciate you taking the time, number one, to hear about Together We Stand, but also understanding where you are right now, where Omega Sports is right now. Yeah. For us, we want everybody. The same way we want everybody at Courageous Conversations. We want everybody that wants to do more. Because one of the things we're finding is people want to do more, but they don't know what to do. And the goal is to have those people just do a little bit more. Having more conversation with your family and your friends, your coworkers, and just doing different things. Besides Courageous Conversations and the MAUD 2.23, we want to start to do different events to encourage conversation. So that's coming up. We haven't decided what we're going to do yet, but that's coming up sometime soon.
Well, we'll be more than happy to help and support and collaborate. I know we've got some things. I've got some to-do lists for you that I know that I owe you some good ideas. I know we had already percolated and talked about some of them, but I got to get them typed up and sent over to you because we do have some big ideas that I think would work really well, both for MAUD 223, but also down the road with some of the other things that you're doing. So we're super happy to build off of this partnership. I do want to let people know, again, if you want to get involved, you want to support, make sure you're following Together We Stand NC. That's your Instagram handle. You guys have tons of great coverage there. And more importantly, if you see something that evokes something in you, feel free to share it with your friends. We love shares. I know you guys love sharing good content, and I love seeing it hit, oh, this runner just shared this too. I love seeing that in our running community. So definitely follow Together We Stand NC on Instagram. And then you can also make sure to check out the race itself, the run itself, I should say. MAUD223.omegasports.com. That's going to be all your information that you have leading up to the race, and then more information that will have some coverage of the I keep saying race, the run itself, the series itself. Okay. All right. Well, Tyrone, I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for talking to us about Together We Stand NC and the purpose around the organization. And then, of course, the run MAUD 223 as well.